shocking confidential testimony from teachers being forced to teach pornographic books in high school classes. Between authoritarian supervisors and fellow teachers spying and narking them out, the whole school sounds like East Germany under Soviet rule. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. America, you don't want to miss this show. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we start with pornography in the classroom, a story we brought you a few weeks ago, as teachers are now speaking out about their attempts to remove or hide inappropriate books from children, as many districts demand they be displayed prominently for all the kids to see. This is an amazing story. We did it. It's in a school out of Texas, Leander Independent School District. We did this 2 or 3 weeks ago, the LISD, just out of Austin, Texas. Now, you may remember from that show, I believe Alex Newman was hosting with me. We talked about this. In this school district outside of Austin, Texas, Leander Independent School District, all sorts of really bad books. We had the book list, right? All the books of English reading from the 4 years of high school all classics had been removed. Not a single title you would recognize. They were coming of age, self-help, highly sexualized textbooks of the new kind that are being written for your kids. Very, very graphic, very, very erotic, very much associating violence and sex. The examples that we read to you a couple weeks ago were shocking. They were about stepfathers raping their stepdaughters, forcing a little boy to watch while a stepfather raped his stepdaughter. Some of the language was absolutely shocking through the roof. So what we're going to do is recover that here briefly, remind you of what happened, because it's gotten even more outrageous since. So since the cameras and the lights have left, now it turns out that the supervisors, the superintendents, the principals are on a payback campaign. Now that this has become public, any teachers who step out of line, any teachers who don't want to teach this kind of literature anymore, any teachers who join the protest against the pornography in the classrooms are being threatened. They're being told, go away, find another school district. We don't want you here. We have a situation where politically correct teachers are actually narking out teachers who will not go along. And these books have been dropped off to these teachers at the beginning of the year. All of a sudden, the teachers came to school at the beginning of the year. All their textbooks have been gone. A big box of books have been put in front of each English teacher. All of this pornographic curriculum stuff, all of the other books removed. And it's gotten so far in this school district that teachers, when you walk into a teacher's classroom, if they don't have those books front and center on the shelves so that kids can see the titles, those teachers are being threatened with being fired. If teachers try to hide those pornographic books behind other books, those teachers are told they could be fired for it. It really is that outrageous.
So to take you back to what began, in the fall of 2020, according to a group of the English teachers, a small group of the administrators made a nearly unilateral decision to de-emphasize traditional canon literature in favor of these more diverse contemporary literature. And as you already heard Dr. Duke speak about, the adult themes. Now, this includes passages in these books with graphic depictions of gang rape and references to strap-on sex toys, masturbation, and ejaculation. Some of the most violent and graphic scenes involved incest and depictions of the abuse of minors, including prepubescent children. And one graphic novel included demeaning images of nude women engaged in sex acts, including one on a dog leash and another being coerced at gunpoint. Now, when parents found out that this was happening in their kids' schools and their kids were supposed to be reading this, if they complained, and they did, of course they were met with protest from some of these activist teachers. Not activist other parents, activist teachers, the ones who were there in the classroom.
Went after the moms and dads for complaining.
And yeah, they were called, every name in the book. You're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're all the things that they're, probably white supremacist, all of that. You're a bigot, you're this. For questioning it, whether or not our kids should be reading this, these parents started getting anonymous cardboard penises at their homes with Christian iconography, can't even say the word, that said, "He has risen." Some of these parents say that they received pornography subscriptions to their personal emails featuring bestiality, and others received putrid food items and dead animals on their doorsteps. That's where we are at.
Yeah, to summarize that again, because you said it very well, but I just to underscore this, moms and dads who complained about the serious pornography in the high school curriculum, other teachers attacked them. Those teachers teamed up with local community members to send really dangerous, obnoxious, threatening letters to the personal homes of these moms and dads. Why the penis imagery right with the idea of he is risen? It was Easter. This happened at Easter time. And so these supposedly Christian zealot moms got cardboard penises in the mail with statements like he has risen along the side of the image, mocking Christianity. Very, very dangerous. Well, since then, things have happened. All right. So I'll take you to April 19th. One teacher said about these schools, these textbooks, because we asked that question. What about those teachers who are not radical left-wing teachers? How do they feel about this? We now know. One teacher stated on April 19th, quote, "These books are still in my classroom. I got in trouble for having them in a less visible part of the shelf. I still have, in spite of all the protests, in spite of all the light, the attention that's been brought to these age-inappropriate books, I have my books in my classroom too. I am not allowed," she said, "to remove those books. I can't even bury those books behind other books," she says. "I got in trouble for having them in a less visible part of the shelf. The facilitator said that was soft censorship because the kids can't see the books easily. Multiple teachers have confirmed that curriculum facilitators have proactively checked their classrooms to ensure that these pornographic books, including In the Dream House and other highly controversial titles, are not just on the shelves, but are visible to these children. The response of this school is, we're going to double down. We're going to not only keep those books, keep reading those books, we're going to put those books front and center in teacher classrooms. And if teachers try in any way to shield kids from the pornography, they will be threatened."
And just to reiterate, so once these parents complained about these books, it got taken to the school board, and the school board responded saying, okay, let's do a community review of the entire list of the book club that they have. So it's supposed to be a community review. It makes you think parents, oh, okay, we're getting our say. But basically, it came down to the same administrators.
Yeah, the committee was left-wing administrators and left-wing teachers.
Yeah, so they're the ones selecting the books ultimately and saying, well, they're okay. And then that goes into your point about some of these teachers. Well, shoot, if they're saying they would remove the books from my classroom, certain books, but not only has that not happened, I then tried to hide them, and if I didn't hide them, then I got called out for that, and now I must put them front and center as well. So it's not like every step of this process is going counter to what any sane, logical person would assume.
Unbelievably, the story gets even worse. After a short break, we're going to pick up with this story in a moment. Continuing with this story, it is unbelievable. So, after the explosion of media and outrage across the country because these pornographic books were in class, what the school did is they doubled down. They had a review process which really only contained the people who chose the books to begin with, and they all decided that they were fine. Here is some more information. According to multiple sources, as well as a leaked audio recording, teachers were told by 2 school board members during a meeting in the fall of 2020 that there are plenty of districts in Central Texas where teachers can work if they don't want to follow the curriculum units. You don't want to teach this pornography? Go find another job. And teachers who, quote, can't get on board, unquote, will be managed out of their jobs. Teachers who have, quote, worked here more than 20 years, unquote, were singled out as the most likely to be non-compliant and were invited to show themselves the door. Quote from a teacher, "We know they're watching us. They tell us," one 50-year-old middle school language arts teacher told the Daily Wire, quote, "Our jobs used to be defined by how well we teach text, the standards. Now it's how well we follow district-mandated curriculum. If you don't follow it, pornographic or not, you will be fired," stated another high school teacher.
And during the summer of 2020, the language arts teachers had received 6 to 12 boxes of books. And according to one high school teacher, she said it was weird because it felt like they were discouraging us from reading them. The administrators kept telling us there was no need to review the books, which some of us thought was strange. Well, as an English professor yourself...
Curious. If you're going to have to teach... They're asking you to teach books that you haven't read, literally. As an English teacher, you're not going to go for that, are you?
Well, if you're an English teacher, you would hope you have a love of reading.
Right.
You can't wait to get your hands on a
the
book
new books.
and probably smell it a time or two. I'm sure you've sniffed a couple books.
I have.
Books are swell. But anyway, back to this teacher. So some of them thought it was strange that they were saying, hey, no need to review. So some of us started checking them out just to see. Curiosity killed the cat, now didn't it? We were shocked. One of my colleagues marched into principal, and then they redacted the name of the principal, his office, and started reading out loud from Red at the Bone, R-E-D at the Bone. She was told to bookmark it, but she kept on reading out loud. The two men in the room went bright red and covered their ears.
How bad the passage
That's
was.
how bad and awkward and shocking it is.
It shouldn't need much imagination with a title like that, Red at the Bone, to know exactly what they're talking about.
And I guess it wasn't just the new books that changed for the school. Last summer, teachers were informed they would be receiving, quote, units. Units. You're going to receive units 1 month in advance of when the unit was slated to be taught. And instead of a general, year at a glance, here's what we're looking for your curriculum, the units now included pre-written daily lesson plans, assignments, and was paired reading material for it, which teachers were suddenly expected to teach with fidelity. Yes. So just as I've learned in teaching school, you are not they try to say we're teachers and professionals, but I saw that you are not a teacher. You're just a paper pusher.
A couple of things here. Did you notice the emphasis on facilitators? Facilitators go to classroom now, and they're basically just shills for the administration, and they tell the teachers how they're going to do this. You will teach this and like it. You're going to have those books on display so your kids can see them. You are not, when you teach this, going to undercut or hide what's in them. You're going to give them what everybody else considers the pornography. You're going to give it to them. Facilitators are running your kid's classroom, not the teachers, number one. And number two, listen to this. Multiple teachers admitted that they are actively looking for work in other districts or other professions altogether, adding that their peers are doing the same. Quote, "We are going to lose some of the best teachers over this," unquote, cautioned one high school language arts teacher. Quote, "I refuse to teach this stuff. I kind of got away with teaching Hamlet this year because of COVID. So I used COVID to be able to slip Hamlet in, but I will not have that excuse next year." Teachers secretly teaching Hamlet? What is the world coming to? I mean, God bless them. When it is an act of actual transgressivism to read, it's like, this is literally like the Soviet Union. Somebody snuck in a copy of Hamlet to the Gulag, and anyone caught reading it will be punished. There probably weren't many Germans in the Gulags, but nevertheless, it's as bad as that. Listen to this. Teachers are secretly teaching Hamlet, yes, and argumentative essays, too, to avoid teaching the pornography. However, according to this teacher, students in the lower income high school classes, so once again, we go back to this theme, right? According to this teacher, students in the lower income high schools are, by and large, the ones being taught the new curriculum. They're focusing exclusively on the minority kids and the low performers. The smarter kids have been able to avoid it. The, for lack of a better word, whiter kids, because those are the parents who are the ones that are going to scream the most. For the product, sophomores in those schools, instead of when they read these pornographic books, what is the outcome? What are they asked to do with those books? For their product, sophomores in these schools are drawing 4-panel cartoon pictures about the theme, seriously, in high school. Rather than writing essays, taking essay exams, they're drawing four-panel cartoons rather than writing essays. Quote from the teacher, how are they going to jump up to AP language and composition if they can't read and write, if all they can do is draw pictures? The image of wealthy students reading Hamlet and low-income students drawing cartoons made my stomach drop, reminding me yet again who always pays the steepest price for progressive education. The hardest struggling lower income non-white kids. Other teachers, what else did they say?
Well, other teachers actually said they're afraid. They are
deeply afraid
about losing their job. I mean, try to, I guess. If you're a teacher, your passion is to educate. You want to help the children. You want them to read and write and understand the various themes that are in all of the great literature. But you also, at the same time, you have to put food on the table. So you are sitting there trying to figure out what you're going to do. And a lot of them are talking about, they're going to lose their job if they're on the brink of retirement, which makes sense that a lot of the older teachers, the old school ones who actually like to teach, they're on the brink of retirement. What about their pensions, their retirement plans? What do they do? One teacher, a middle school teacher, actually said, I just need to hold on one more year. 3 more years for me, said her colleague. And both obviously had to speak anonymously because they're afraid of what's going to happen if they speak out.
And on top of that, in addition to losing their jobs and possibly their pensions, teachers are also fearful for their reputations. If a young teacher who's not close to retiring, speaks out, her reputation will be tainted across the school districts. They will let them know. Other teachers, other schools will be notified that this one doesn't go along. This one refuses to read the books we assign. In addition to losing their jobs and pension plans, teachers are fearful for their reputations. Quote, they will defame me all over social media, unquote, worried one teacher. Who, I asked. Quote, the activist teachers. They are watching us all the time. They ask students to tell them what we say in class, especially the gay kids. They really like talking to the gay kids to see if we say anything offensive. According to these teachers, the bullying even extends to the administrators of the schools, who theoretically have the power to fire the most problematic teachers and administrators. So why don't they? Why don't they come to your defense? Why don't the principals defend these teachers who don't want to teach those books? It's because they're afraid to.
Well, move over, pussy hats. It's time for some plush penises. Because we have a knitting group who can provide you set accommodations. The Stitchbug Studio is offering soft yarn-made genitals. But wait a minute, it's for kids. And that's where this whole story goes awry, even more so. The official description is the Bitty Bug. Soft Packer is a custom prosthetic packer in youth sizes, made from soft, durable yarn and polyester filling. It's easy to wear pinned to underclothes or tucked in a packing pouch and can be felt by the wearer without being visible externally, shown in a pair of undies to demonstrate.
So this is for young girls who believe they're transitioning to boys. Go back to the picture for a second.
It just says for kids.
Whose bright idea was it to put the safety pin through that penis?
The Stitchbug Studio thought it was.
Studio. That's a little bad marketing right there. And so really what you literally have here, and look, can I say something while I've got you here? Look, the stories we do on this show are increasingly vulgar and increasingly violent and increasingly unbelievably outrageously inappropriate. You're going to have to get your mind around the fact that it's very difficult for us to talk about these stories without using words or language that some of you are going to object to. If it happens, we apologize. It's not our ambition. It's not our object. But at some point, righteous indignation forces you to give you back what you're getting. On another hand, when you're talking about stories like this, you have two choices. One is to treat it absolutely literally. The other choice is to try to make a little fun of it, to try to turn these horrific stories into something more mediatable, right? We have to find a way to take these horrible stories and lighten them up, to broaden them up, to include even the use of humor to try to get these segments. We are not sitting here trying to offend you. If you are not shocked and offended by what we're telling you, then, and you're finding us and our language the problem, I just hope to God you are every bit as aggressive with the schools and the textbook publishers and the teachers and the administrators who are putting us in a position to talk about these stories. We are an education program. We're going to bring you the worst stories, the worst ways. Now, does that mean every now and then the humor goes a little off the rails? Does that mean every now and then when you are disgusted up to your gills with what they're doing, that manifests itself? So be it. It is the way that it is. It's not easy to have to report this kind of corrupted culture, this kind of debauched education pitch for kids, and still have people tune in every day. So got to find a happy medium here. So this story here and these knit penises then, they clearly have been created for little girls who are planning to transition to boys. Until they're old enough to get the surgery, snip, snip, until they're old enough to go through the full hormonal sequence that they believe will transform them into boys, they get to wear these in their pants, or I should say their panties, as a way of confirming what they believe themselves to be.
And according to the company, you can match your older sibling or your parents because they make the Lil Bug and Lil Bug Jr. in sizes suitable for teens and adults. If you need a Bitty Bug in a different size or configuration, please reach out to us and we will make the necessary adjustments. So immediately, I thought, well, what about my children? Can they make it for my young children? But no, they cannot. It is not intended for infants or very young children. There has been some confusion for those. They wrote this to note to their customers. This is not me just asking.
Because
this is a
there
note.
are idiot parents who are doing it.
Exactly. So they wrote a note to their customers saying this, that there has been some confusion for those who are not aware of what some trans youths go through and how prosthetics can help their experience. Thank you to the parents out there who support your trans youngsters, and we are honored to be a small part of their process.
Process. Like bologna and salami, we're processing children now. Isn't that lovely? It's a whole process.
Did you intend to do bologna and salami?
I did not think of the penile, the potentially phallic reference when I came up with bologna.
No.
So it was not an intentional joke. But now that you bring it up, I think it's a pretty good one.
Bring it up.
And you ask yourself the question, right? What is this world coming to? After that story, it's time for some adult learning. And I don't lean pornographic when I say adult. Adult intellectuals like Adam Smith, the great founder of Western economics, the guy who wrote the book, right, on it's called The Bible of Capitalism on the Wealth of Nations. And so it was a brilliant man. He also wrote another interesting book about morality. And interesting that the great capitalist Adam Smith tied morality to his economic theories. And so 1776, The Wealth of Nations was written. That's kind of an important date in American history. The very year that this country proclaimed itself a nation is the very year that The Wealth of Nations was born. The book came out. And so what do you have? The perfect marriage of medium and subject matter, right? The United States of America and its open free market economies merging with Adam Smith's Bible of capitalism. All that gave rise to is the richest country in the history of the world. So nothing wrong with that. But take a look at some of our quotes today from Adam Smith. Quote, "With the greater part of rich people, for the most part rich people, the chief enjoyment of riches consists in the parade of riches." What an indictment. Most people, the biggest benefit they get from being rich is ostentatiously displaying their richness. There got to be better reasons, I think Adam Smith is talking about. How about the next quote? "It is not by augmenting the capital of the country, but by rendering a greater part of that capital active and productive than would otherwise be so, that the most judicious operations of banking can increase the industry of the country. Rather than spending money, capital, to make the capital look more and more impressive, the capital city, D.C., how about you just take more and more of the available money already in the market and make that money available cheaply to people who want to invest it? That's the best way to keep prosperity going. Joe Biden, somebody's calling you. Have your handlers read you this tonight instead of the wheels of the bus go round and round when you're trying to take your nap. And how about the final one? Adventure upon all the tickets in the lottery. Go ahead. Go and be a fanatic. Buy every single ticket in the lottery, and you will lose for sure. You will have spent more than you gained. And the greater number of your tickets, the nearer your approach to this stupidity or certainty, right? So if if buying more tickets was your ticket to winning, buy them all. Buy every one of them. You'll win, having lost.
All right, just a quick reminder to please download our Freedom Project Media app. All you have to do is search Freedom Project in your app store, and then you download it. And of course, if you enjoy our content, please support us by joining the Patriot Club. For a one-time $99 tax-deductible donation, you will be allowing us to bring you all of these awful stories every day. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. And of course, as a little thank you for signing up, we'll send you our signature tumbler. Now we want to take a moment to show some love to our Patriot Club members, and today we are giving a shout out to KD from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So thank you, KD, for supporting us.
And that wraps up this show for Freedom Project. I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.